Thank you, Jan. Maybe our viewers have noticed this picture here. It was done by a man who was homeless, and he never really raised his head. And then he started to paint, and he had so much good accolades from people that he started to look better and feel better. And now he does a lot of painting, and he donates his art to the local shelter. Our guest today is Jenn Pipe. She has a wonderful story to tell about the program that she has been working with over a number of years called Self-Esteem Through Art. So I'm going to start and welcome you. Nice to have you with us,
Thank you.
Jenn.
So nice to be here.
And I'm going to start with a question that may seem different to some people, but I think maybe some of our viewers would like to know more about what is self-esteem?
It's a valuable question. Let's start first by saying what self-esteem isn't. So self-esteem is often confused with ego, and they're two totally different things. So if we think of self-esteem, let's think of it like a recipe, and self-esteem is the one ingredient that will help everyone's lives perform more optimally. So if you have healthy self-esteem in many areas of your life, you will see a dramatic shift, like that gentleman did that painted this painting, in how you carry yourself, how you live, love, conduct your relationships.
Wonderful. Now, what destroys our self-esteem?
Pretty much anything. I mean, it can be a simple comment, one negative comment, and there's lots of research out that shows that, 85% of the population suffers from lacking self-esteem, and a lot of that lacking self-esteem happened before they were even 6 years old.
Wow.
So it was probably somebody that knew us and loved us that didn't mean to, but really hurt us with something they either said or did. And since then, we've carried that with us and sort of manifested that as part of our personalities.
Thank you. I know that personally. I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say it because it affected my life. My father always said to my mother, "You never do anything right." And after so many years of saying that, when I'd ask her to do something, she'd say, "Oh no, I never do anything right." She had taken that message,
Right.
and it was like a record playing in her head, so she had to do something different,
Yeah.
change up the message.
Right.
So,
Right. And it is a work in progress. It's an active thing that you have to work on all the time.
mm-hmm.
It's not a given. It's not something that's just innate in our personalities and you just are born with healthy self-esteem and you'll have it forever. It's something that you need to work on.
Right. So how does art help your self-esteem?
Well, I mean, I find that art is really beneficial because it gives people a voice without them actually having to say anything. So they're taking something that they love and that sparks a creativity within, and they're using that medium to give themselves a voice where they may not have had one before. So Jan had a really good example, about a homeless person who used this art medium to thrive and blossom. Mm-hmm. And I see that a lot with the people that I work with, both the children and adults. They feel like they don't have a voice, but we're all really creative inside. We were born to be creative. And so when you take that and you use that, it helps to nurture those feelings, and it really helps you live out your truth.
That touches my heart.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, Jenn.
Yeah.
So you started a program. How did you really begin? What prompted you, or what was?
Oh gosh, this has been a work in progress probably for my whole life. You mentioned your parents. I actually grew up in a domestic violence situation in my household. So my father was an alcoholic. He was abusive to my mother. My sister and I witnessed that. Certainly it took a whack at our self-esteem when we were younger, wondering why this was happening. And then as I got older, I thought a little bit more about it. If my father had healthier self-esteem and less of an ego, he wouldn't have treated my mother that way.
Absolutely.
If my mother had healthier self-esteem, she probably would have had the courage to walk away a lot sooner from that damaging relationship. And then it sort of progressed from there. I was in a professional situation where I was not happy. I stayed. the reason why I stayed was because my self-esteem wasn't as healthy as it could have been. I didn't know I had options, choices. I didn't have the confidence to pursue them. So this has been a work in progress, and as I started to get out of that situation and do a lot of self-work, a lot of internal work on myself, I realized that, you know what, I do have choices, and I have to work on this myself. And I was born into that situation many years ago, but now I'm an adult, and I have a choice of how I conduct my life. And I have daughters, and so this is very close to my heart. You know, I want them to grow up with confidence and have that healthy self-image. So,
Good message. So tell me how you started this program, because I know that it's in the schools, you're working in the schools, and it's grown over a number of years. So,
yeah, so
what is the program?
it's called Self-Esteem Through Art, and you know, it's a lot of people sort of poo-poo it because they say I'm not creative, I don't want to participate in something, I'm not an artist, I don't have that talent. But this is a program that's not so much about the creativity, but it's more about the self-development. So it's more about the search within, and the creativity is the medium for that. So, you know, the program developed a couple of years ago. I was actually, I had started a business. So I started this anti-aging business, a global distribution. And I was hearing from the people that I was partnering with, I could never do what you do. That's just not for me. You know, I don't have confidence. And so that got me thinking. And then as my daughters started getting older and I was seeing them interact with their peers, I was noticing that, you know what, we're a negative-based culture, but not just in adults. It starts young. And so you're hearing the way the kids talk to each other and the bullying, and that really got me thinking. When I was really unhappy at work, I was using creativity as my mode of self-preservation, really. You know, I would come home, that's how I would unwind, how I would heal myself from the day. And so I realized, you know what, this is a valuable program. If I can heal myself this way, then other people can use this to heal themselves or to give themselves, you know, a really positive image. So that's kind of how it was born. So it actually started as a summer camp. So I did some programs over the summer, and it's grown from there.
And now you're in schools?
I'm actually in one school.
You're in
I
one
would love
school.
to be in many schools. I think it's such a valuable program. But I'm working in one school. I'm working at a local charter school in Franklin. They've welcomed me with open arms. Their mission is character education and character development. That's part of their core values. And so this fits in really nicely with what they're trying to do.
And what ages are the students?
The students I work with at the school, they're in middle school, so 6th,
Middle
7th,
school.
and 8th grade. But I do work with kids as young as kindergarten, you know, all the way up through teenagers, and I do a lot of work with adults too.
Wonderful. Now, we hear a lot on the media general, and whether it's on the television or the newspapers, about bullying,
Right.
and this being a really big problem. So the bullying is part of that whole self-esteem picture. Can
Oh,
you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. You know, when I talked a little bit earlier about ego, so bullies have a very high ego, but they have very low self-esteem. So the fact that they're bullying and harming another person with either words or physical violence, that shows the lack of regard. So typically when you have a high ego, you have a very low regard for other human beings in general. And so, you know, those people tend to be bullies. And, you know, they feel like they're deriving a lot of self-worth and self-importance from doing that, but it's actually the opposite. So they're diminishing themselves by acting that way.
Right. So the students that you see, do you come into the school? Do you work with a certain number of students at a certain time?
It's actually an elective. So the students in the middle school, they have this thing called Arts Block, and they get to choose from any number of programs. So they can learn how to play guitar, they can take a fitness course, there's cartooning. So this program that I'm running now, it's called Artful Affirmations. And so the children take it as an elective. So they pick what they want to take, and then they have the option to take it up to 3 times over their 3 years in middle school.
Wonderful.
So,
Do you have anybody else that's working with you?
no.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty much just me.
Right. So would you be open to training other people to work with you?
I
or-
would actually really love that. You know, one of my biggest challenges right now is just trying to figure out how to grow this program. You know,
Right.
where to go from here. And locally, it's been phenomenal. I've had great response from both the parents and the students, and from the adult clientele that I work with. But now it's just, where do I go from here? And as kind of a one-person shop, what's the avenue? So that's something that I'm really working on.
Maybe you out there have an answer, and if you do, get in touch with us through our website or our blog, and let's help Jenn out, because what she's doing is wonderful for the young people that she's working with. We need to grow it. We need to expand what you're doing.
Right.
I want to put you in touch with Rick Tagliaferri at the Charter School for the Arts in Boston, that maybe that would be
Oh,
a
that'd be
connection for you too.
That'd be great.
What message would you like to leave for our viewers today?
I think I would just like to say that, this is a really timely and really important topic. We live in a really negatively focused society, and I'm really trying to do my best to change that and shift that, whether it be one person at a time, one class at a time, one group at a time. But I think it's really important that at this stage in our lives and with the things going on globally, that we really take a step back and start focusing on the positive, not the negative. So and art and creativity is definitely one way to do that. So that's my mission.
Thank you so much for being with
You're
us
welcome.
today. Really, really wonderful information and
Thanks.
wonderful what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And now here's Marcia with the Wellness Roundtable.
Thank you, Dot. Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Jan. What a special day today. The subject for today is about the power